Hello everyone, this is Unreal Noob and today I'll be showing you how to make uh, Captain America kind of a shield, a boomerang shield to be precise. Once you throw it, it will come back to you. Let me demonstrate it to you. Let's make it full screen. So these are the enemies all placed over here, and when I press a button it will just go through all the enemies within the radius and come back to you. You can do it as many time as you want it, or you can have it on a cooldown. It's all up to you. So let us begin. I'll minimize this one and start off a new project. I do not have the latest one installed, so I'll be using the 4.25.4. We'll be using the third person template because it's easier to visualize. Call it throwable shield and create project. Yeah, before that I'll just migrate my shield over. You can use whatever you have. Successful. Okay, let us begin. I'll just rename this one as to BP player. This is the default one. This one, play start, and I'll duplicate this one, call it BP enemy. And we'll make an actor class that will be our shield. We want this to be as efficient as we can make it to be. That's why I'll be using BPI. It's a good practice, moreover, nothing else. That's it. I'll name it BP enemy. I'll make two more for the BPI player, and another one I'll call it BPI shield. I'll call it enemy reference. Also I'll use this drop down and on success only, so that I do not have to compile and save every time. Just pressing on compile does the trick. Character reference, right. Player reference, character ref. Compile. I'll open up the BPI enemy again because I forgot to add the output, and enemy reference. So it's done. Now we'll just add the interfaces. BPI player, BPI enemy, and the BPI shield. Also I forgot to, we'll just plug in a self reference for the enemy, again a self reference, and the player as well a self reference. So once it's done, we'll open up the project settings. We want to add in the input, action input, we'll call it activate shield. I'll keep it to mouse button for now. In the event graph, we'll call in the event activate shield action input event, and we'll make a custom event. We'll call it attach shield. It will attach the shield at begin play before the game starts. What we want to do over here would be spawn actor from class. What it will do is spawn the shield in our hands, but if you are making a game, you would want to actually have a pickup system set up and stuff like that, but I'm not going to teach that today. So get actor location, just put in any location would be fine, to be honest. We'll promote this one to be a shield reference, then set actor collision enable to false, because we do not want to collide it with our character mesh, and then attach, sorry about that, attach actor to component. We'll do it to the sorry about that hand underscore L and snap to target, snap to target, snap to target, and let's see how that looks. It does not work. Nice. And why is that? Because yeah, I'm an idiot. It actually does. The thing is, I forgot to add in a static mesh for us to visualize. Call it shield. Now let's visualize. Yeah, there we have it, the shield attached to our hand. Now when now we'll go to the shield. Let's just delete all of these. Can okay, we do require the begin play because we have to have the player character reference. Promote to variable, I'll call it character reference. That is it. And over here we'll have a custom event, call it activate shield throw, and we'll call it over here. We'll have the shield reference and call it activate shield throw. So once it throws, we want to enable the collision. we also want to have a projectile movement, since yeah, the initial speed we won't be keeping one. 1500 is a homing projectile and it should have 25,000, and yeah, more or less something, and we don't want a gravity. Also set initial speed. We did not set a speed over there, so we'll set a speed over here as 1500. After that we want to draw a sphere overlap actors, and the position would be the character reference. Like from the character's location we want to draw the sphere, and this will promote to a variable, call it radius. This radius will actually determine how far we can actually will look for the enemies. That's it. Object types will make an array of which type of objects we want to actually have within the sphere, that will look for it, and we want to ignore the player character itself, so we'll just put it over there. We'll have a branch to make sure that we actually hit something like within the sphere, like we did find enemies. If we did not find enemies, we would want to not have the shield throw at all. It will just stick in our hand. I'll show what it does if we do not put it on later on. We'll promote this variable to we'll promote this one to a variable as well, call it enemies. And from here we'll be doing a for each loop. We'll plug this one in, and once it's completed we want to add it in an array. We want to add it in an array once it's completed, because once it has found all the enemies within the place, I want all of those enemies that I have found from this sphere to be somewhere stored in the memory. So the best way to do is to store it in an array. I will explain all of this again after I have done this one, so bear with me for some time. I will call in the enemy reference over here, and this one would be our array element. And from here, yeah, let us open up our enemy as well. We want to have a scene component that will be our hit location. This is where the this is where the projectile or the shield will hit the enemy, and from here we'll do a hit hit location. We'll get the hit location, and from the projectile movement we'll just set homing target component. So let's see what we have so far. I'll delete this one. I'll place 2 enemies over here. Let's see what happens if I nice, it flies away with the shield. Right, we forgot something, and the thing is, it had to detach from our hand, from the actor itself, from the player actor. So now let's see. Now it just sticks and does not move along with us, but there's we want to keep the world, keep world, and keep world. Let's see what happens now. Yeah, now see, it just goes to whatever. Okay, it did not, see, this is what I was saying, like it did not find something within the radius, so it just detached just around this location itself. So we don't want this to happen, so we'll do something about it. For now it will just go to whichever one it is the closest to. And also we want to do something over here, collision not block, we'll change it to overlap all dynamics. And now play it. Now it will no longer collide with it and try to block, and no issues with over there. So one of the things is done. So we can also check it. We can do a print string over here, loop body. It actually finds two enemies and it stores it in the array, so both of them works. If I place them apart, one over here and one over there, if I place it, yeah, play it from here, so it just finds the nearest one. See, it finds both of them over here. It goes to the first one in the array. It finds only one over here, and if I come over here, it should find this one. Yeah, it does. So our first part is done. So after this, so basically what we have done so far is it finds the enemy within the sphere that we have done, and it goes towards that one. But now we want it to like go to the other ones as well. Once it finds the first one, it hits it, then it goes to the next one that is added in this array. So how do we do that? We'll have it on begin overlap. So once it's overlapping it, it should remove that array element. So I'll explain how that happens, but we'll remove the first one that it hit over here. We'll remove it and then just move to the next one, and this one will continue. So the other one, we'll check if the other one that if the hit was successful and it was actually an enemy. From here we can set up other things, like if we are hitting a staircase or a wall, you just want it to actually come back to the player itself, or maybe just bounce off the walls and hit whatever enemy is nearby or something like that. It's totally up to you, but we'll not go into that much detail. So after this, what we'll be doing is we'll take the array that we have, and we'll just remove the first one, remove the first item there is of the enemy type. We remove it from the array, and then we get the last index of it. We make sure that it is greater than or equal to 0. So what it means is we make sure that the array is not null. If it's null, then again we want it to come back to the hands of the player. So now we do the same thing, enemy reference, and from we get the first copy that there is, because after removing the topmost one, we get the next one, and then we do the same thing that we did over here. I'll just copy paste this one. So let's see now. Yeah, see, and if it is equal to 0, let's just destroy it for the time being. So what it happens is it attacks, it goes towards two enemies, and then it destroys itself. But we don't want that. We want it to come back to the player itself. So we'll add another scene component over here, call it again hit location. We'll attach it to, and it's already over there, so that's good. We come back to the shield. We'll do something very similar. Character reference, we get the hit location, add it over there, and then we add a delay. After that we will be destroying this actor. We actually have to destroy at some point. For now let's keep it to 5, and then we would like to call the very function that we made over here in the event graph, attach shield. Yeah, for 5 seconds I think. Yeah, for 5 seconds it will be like that, and then we'll come back to our hand. So this is not actually what we want, but it's coming there. So the we don't want it to be a manual delay, we want it to be found automatically, to be honest, more or less. So how do we do that? For that we need the time over here. So how do we find the time? If you are a science student, you will be knowing this, that speed is equal to distance by time. So we require the time. So in order to get the time, it would be distance by speed. So we'll get the first distance, get distance 2. The other one would be our character reference, but we don't want to plug in the distance here, we want the speed as well. So we'll get the max speed, that's why we put the max speed and the initial speed as the same, and we'll put this one over there. Now it should look much more, yeah, looks much more natural. Doesn't matter what the distance is, there will be no like bugging out over there, and it's much more smoother. See, yeah, it's much more smoother. So now let's see, what we need to fix is, like, if there's no enemies, yeah, we don't want to detach it like this. So what we want it to do would be, from this one, if you can't find something, you destroy this actor, and then you attach the shield, basically. Simple as that. If I find somebody, I do that. If I do not find somebody, it just comes back. I mean, it does not, it actually detaches, but yeah, it's much more smoother. Actually, for better results, what we can do is, we can take the projectile settings, set the max speed over here to be around, let's say, 2000. Yeah. Now that is complete. Obviously we would want some effects to play and sounds to play once it hits the enemy. So what we'll be doing is, over here I will spawn emitter at location, and this one will be the location of the enemy. Plug it in, let's say explosion, and spawn, not spawn, play sound at location. Same location and explosion. Now if we hear it, yeah, there you go. Yeah, there it is. Everything seems to be in order. I don't Okay, I forgot to do one thing. That would be, yeah, right now if we throw the shield, it it does not look that much professional, you see. Like, yeah, it's not rotating or anything at all. So what we would want to do is like make a boolean is shield thrown. Over here we'll make it true, and over here after the delay is done we'll make it false again. So we want to have it on event tick. Event using too much event tick is not efficient, but it will not be running all the time. It will just run for very few seconds when the shield is being thrown, so we don't have to worry too much about it. So what do we want to do at this time? We want this shield to have world rotation of -90. Yeah, once it has -90 it looks more like, yeah, the shields looks much better. But then again we also want to add a rotation, so let's add that. Add relate add world rotation. Let's see how it does with the world rotation of 6. Not very good. 60. Nope. 0. Let's do the here, I guess. Right, we don't want to add it over here. We want this rotation. Right, we want to have that once after detaching. Once it has been detached, we want to set it as -90 only once, not more than that. Now it looks way nicer. Yeah, see. Now if I increase the radius to, let's say, 5000. I don't know about you, but yeah, I wouldn't actually want it to be 5000. This is just for this purposes only, to show that it works no matter where you place them. Let's place some over here as well that we can look at. So it hits all the enemies and comes back to your hand perfectly. Nice. That is cool. So let's go through the logic ones. So the first thing is we press a button which calls the activate shield throw function in from the PP shield. In the function, in the custom event, we have a boolean set, is shield thrown. We set it to true. Then we detach the shield from the act of the player, and then we set a world rotation of -90 on the x-axis, and then we enable the collision actor sorry about that, guys. We set the actor collision to enable, and then we set the projectile initial speed to 1500. We then after that we go to sphere overlap actors. What it does, it draws a sphere from a certain point which we have set up as the character position, character location, and we have a radius that is variable which can be edited at an instance. That's all up to you. And we ignore the character itself. I'll show you what happens if we don't do this. We do not ignore the character itself. This is a compulsory, to be honest. Object types, we need to specify which actors it should be looking for, and if it does find some enemies, if it does find something of the type object type of pawn, if it does find something from the then only then we do a for each loop, and then we add those elements into an array. And why are we adding it to an array? So we are adding it so that the enemies that we are about to hit is stored someplace in the memory. You need to store them, otherwise by default the shield would not know where to go or how many there are after he hits the first one. So we need to store it someplace. So this is where we store the enemy, and after it stores it, the last enemy that was inserted into the array, not the first one, remember that, the last one that was inserted into the array, it moves towards the last enemy over here. So why does it go to the last one? So many of us might not know, but array is like a container. So it takes the first enemy, the second enemy, and then the third enemy. So you see at the very top is the third enemy that's at the top, not the first one. So it goes to the third enemy over here, this one. So after it goes to the third one, what does it do? It has to find a way to remove this third one and then go to the second one. That's why we have done on component begin overlap. So after it overlaps, we remove that, we check if it's the enemy that it hit. It might have hit something else, but we make sure that it was the enemy, and if it was the enemy, we remove that enemy from that array. So that's what we are doing. We remove that very element from the array. Now we are left with 1 and 2 after removing. So that's why. And also we check if the last index is greater than equal to 0. So we also arrays start from array index of 0. So the first one is 0, then it is 1, and so on. This one was 2, and so on. So we do not check if it was greater than equal to 1. We check greater than equal to 0, because in array the first index is 0. So we do check that. So if it was greater, if it is greater than equal to 0, which is true in fact for this part, it will move to the next enemy in range. It moves to the next enemy in range, which is number 2, and after it is done, it does the same thing. It goes back again over here because it overlaps again with another enemy, and then it removes it, and then we finally are left at left with 1 at 0. Again it will hit the enemy, and then it will remove this one as well. Now even at 0 we do not have anything, we have null. We have null items over here, no items over here. So what it does is this one becomes false, this logic becomes false, and it goes to this execution pin over here. We set the max speed to 2000, and the homing location target is set to be our player character. It moves over there. We have found out the delay duration that was found by the get distance to and divide by speed, because we know sorry about that, speed is denoted by v actually in terms of physics. So v is equal to distance by time, so we require the time, so which becomes distance by speed. So basically we are doing that, the distance divided by speed gives us the time which we plug in the delay, and then we destroy the actor, and then we attach another shield to the player. And like the boolean that we set up over there to true is now set to false, and during that short amount of time when it is true, we are adding a rotation to it, so that whenever it is hitting the enemy, it is rotating, like it looks much more natural and way better. Okay, so that is it. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you learned something today from this one, and please do leave a like the video and subscribe to my channel, because that actually helps me to make more videos in the future. And also I've been thinking that I'll be starting with a tutorial series, so it could be either a first person or third person shooter, or it can be a action combat system with swords and stuff like that. So let me know in the comments which one you want me to take off first, so I'll start with that. Thank you.